Rúben Amorim could have done that a little more when he came in, of course. Reports suggesting that he has told the squad he will be staying. Of course, there were suggestions that he could walk without compensation. However, he will take charge of United at the start of the new season. But it looks like Garnacho will not be part of his plans. I suppose, Don, there's a lot of buzz around Garnacho, but where's he going to go? What's he going to do? And how much of a concern is his attitude?
Where's he going to go? He's been highly linked with Napoli, with Antonio Conte. I could see him fitting in there very well. I think he's one of these players, Garnacho, where I think you might see the best of him when he moves away from Man United. I commentated on Napoli last night and they won the Scudetto, and Scott McTominay got voted MVP in Serie A, and he's a player that I'm stunned that Man United let go because the legs that he's got. And I think Garnacho's one of those players where I think he needs a little bit of attention. I think you can see that he needs to be brought into line sometimes. But undoubtedly there's a player in there. You've got to work with him. You've got to find the best of him. I think Amorim's put that flag in the sand very early on, and he's been quite steadfast in his system. But I think, in all honesty, I think he's threw a lot of the players under the bus at times. And I think Garnacho is one of them where he's played the majority of games in the Europa League, didn't feature in the final. It was screaming out for him to come on in the final. I think he got 20 minutes in the end. I think Amorim's tactics in the final left a lot to be desired. It should have been Agate in midfield and Bruno Fernandes as the number 10. But I think for Garnacho, I think he's one of these guys that wears his heart on his sleeve. He says it how it is, which you can either like or you don't. But I honestly think if they do sell him, and it could be to Napoli, I think it's one of them. Keep an eye on him because I think he's a player and I think he'll do well elsewhere.
And Manchester United, of course, embroiled in the battle as to who will finish 16th and 17th in the Premier League.
Al Hilal are interested in signing Bruno Fernandes, but their plans to sign him are not advanced at the moment.
Okay.
However, that could change because Al Hilal are playing in the Club World Cup next month, and there is this special transfer window that's open from June the 1st to June the 10th, which they can use to sign players. Now, United's position is very clear. The player is not for sale. He's the United captain. On the record, Rúben Amorim has come out and said he's one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. But obviously, we know that Saudi clubs have been very, very active in the transfer market. He is on a list of targets who Al Hilal are chasing. And also, Al Hilal have got quite a few players from the Premier League already. They've got Ruben Neves, who he will know well. They've got Alexander Mitrovic, Kalidou Koulibaly. They used to have Neymar. And I think obviously going into the Club World Cup, they're representing Saudi Arabia. They're in a group with Real Madrid, RB Salzburg, Pachuca, especially that first game against Real Madrid. It's very important for them that they sort of fly the flag for Saudi Arabia. So I think they will be trying to strengthen their squad. But it'll be very, very difficult to sign Bruno Fernandes.
Realistically, though, given the situation and what's happening at the club right now, do you see this happening, this move?
Well, look, United have missed out on a lot of potential revenue from not being in the Champions League, not being in Europe at all next season. We have seen there has been a lot of cost cutting at United. Unfortunately, up to 450 people are losing their jobs. But Bruno Fernandes is the United captain. He's their talisman. He's the one player that anybody you speak to in football will say he's the one United player who could play for any side in the Premier League. And he signed a new contract last summer until 2027 with the option of a further year. But he's going to be 31 in September. Last night, he himself admitted, look, I know how football works, is basically what he said. And I want to stay at United, but you never know what's going to happen. If they say to me, we don't want you anymore, well, that's football. That's the way it works. But I think United want to keep him. That's their position. The player himself wants to stay. But if this summer United decide that maybe at his age they want to cash in on him, then I can tell you for certain that Al Hilal are interested in signing him. But I really think it's up to United what happens to Bruno Fernandes next. And at the moment, they've made it clear they want him to stay.
Garnacho, what he's had to say.
So this is speaking to Argentinian media, I understand, and he says obviously it's hard for everyone. We didn't beat anyone in the league. We lacked a lot of things. When you don't score goals, you always need more. Until we reached the final, I played every round and I played 20 minutes today. I don't know. I'm going to try and enjoy the summer and see what happens next, which is intriguing final line there, isn't it? What's going to happen to this player? 20 years old, Garnacho. Interesting. He qualifies as homegrown. We talk about Man United looking to raise money. If they sold Bruno Fernandes, if they sold him, all of that money would go down as pure profit. These things we're learning through FFP and PSR and these new regulations and rules. Suddenly, a player like him has a lot of value to Man United in the transfer market in terms of selling him. But you know, he is right. He has had his influence on this cup run. He had assists against Real Sociedad in both legs. He had an assist against Lyon. He's had fewer starts in the Premier League and his goal involvement numbers have gone down a touch in the Premier League. So he's not been at his brilliant best, but say 20 years old, he's still got potential. And we saw when he came on last night, taking Mason Mount's spot, he had a vicious shot from the left side, which Vicario had to save. And he looks like he was going to bring more to that final stage of the game than Mason Mount was, because we see the stats here between them. Mason Mount, 70 minutes on the pitch, no shots, no chances created, just 11 passes and 25 touches of the ball. And you think of all the possession that Man United had, Mason Mount just couldn't get into the game at all. And yet Garnacho, when he comes on for his 20 minutes, he has that shot that I mentioned that Vicario had to save really well. He created a chance for his teammate. He put in a couple of crosses, which Mount didn't do throughout his whole time on the pitch, and he was a bit sharper with his passing as well, Alejandro Garnacho. So from his perspective, you can see why he would be so frustrated that he didn't get as much game time on the pitch as he would have wanted to influence that result for United last night.
Moving away, what did Amorim have to say about rumoured exits for captain Bruno Fernandes and also Alejandro Garnacho?
Yeah, they're the two players who've captured most of the headlines in the aftermath of that defeat, and significant Saudi interest there's said to be in Fernandes, and he's made it clear that he wouldn't stand in the club's way if they wanted to, as he put it, cash in on him. Garnacho and his family quick to go on social media after that final, with him only making a brief substitute appearance, and I guess that doesn't really endear to the boss either, does it? So those are two assets, if you like, that Manchester United might well be looking at if they are to build up a pot of money to try and get out into the market. But it's a really difficult job trying to balance who leaves, what sort of money they can raise, and who comes in. But as you say, Fernandes and Garnacho are the two players who were the focus of this particular answer.
I always speak with my players, but the focus now is the last game. I don't know what is going to happen. We have a plan. We were prepared for both situations, with Champions League, without Champions League. We have an idea what type of squad we want, but now we have to focus on the game, because we still have the last game and we'll have time to address all that situations.
And what about the future of the man himself, Peter? Been suggestions he could walk away. He suggested previously himself that if it didn't go his way, if he couldn't impact, he might do that. What did he have to say on that topic today?
I've got to say, he seems hell-bent on rolling up his sleeves and actually trying to solve the great Manchester United puzzle. He came here early, we all know that. He would have preferred to come in and around about now, really, but he's had the benefit of 6 months. It's not been a good 6 months, but at least he's given him an insight into how big this job is. And quite possibly, I have to say, he's finding it more difficult than he thought it was, even when he first arrived. But he's got a huge job on his plate. I mean, they play Villa tomorrow. Villa are in 6th. That effectively is where Manchester United want to be. They're down in 16th. They could actually finish in 17th, just one above the black line. No European football for the first time since 1990. So United are in a bit of a state. But this is what Amorim had to say about his own future and his determination to put it right.
No, it's not windows, and sometimes we don't know. Things can change fast, but to reach that kind of level that we need to be as a Manchester United is going to take time. But things I cannot say how many windows, how many years we need to reach that point, but we can improve. That is clear. These 6 months was really hard. A lot of changes, not just for me, for all the club. We did so many changes inside our club that sometimes it takes a lot of like 5 years or 3 years to change all the personnel and to change a lot of things. We changed coach in the middle of the season. The way they play, we changed. So it was a really tough season. Now is that part that we need to enjoy and to focus on the future and to be positive, because we know what to do. I know how I want to play. That is clear. With all the mistakes that you guys can point point to me. I know how I want to play, and that now is the excitement, the moment that we can change something.
You famously said before you joined.
Manchester United head coach Rúben Amorim has told winger Alejandro Garnacho he will be allowed to join a new club this summer. The Argentina international seemed to be on a collision course with his boss after both he and his brother posted messages around Wednesday's Europa League final defeat by Tottenham, when Garnacho was only introduced as a 71st-minute substitute. Speaking after the match, Garnacho said, "Up until the final I played every round helping the team, and today I played 20 minutes, I don't know. The final will influence my decision, but the whole season, the situation of the club. I'm going to try to enjoy the summer and see what happens afterwards." His brother Roberto fanned the flames further after the match, stating on social media, "Working as no one else, helping every round, coming from 2 goals in the last 2 finals, just to be on the pitch for 19 minutes and get thrown under the bus." As first reported by The Athletic, Garnacho has now been told by Amorim he will be allowed to leave. Asked about Garnacho on Saturday, before Sunday's final Premier League game of the season against Aston Villa, Amorim said, "I will speak with my players, but the focus is the last game. I don't know what is going to happen, but we have a plan. We were prepared for both situations, with Champions League and without. We have an idea of the type of squad we want, but we still have the last game. We have time to address all these situations." It remains to be seen if Garnacho will be involved against Villa. As the player class is as homegrown under the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, his sale would create greater flexibility for Amorim, who is preparing to reduce the size of his squad given they have no European commitments next season, to make new signings. United have been heavily linked with Wolves forward Matheus Cunha, who has a release clause of €62.5 million in his contract. Amorim has had an uneasy relationship with Garnacho. He had only been at United for a month when he axed the winger, along with Marcus Rashford, for the victory at Manchester City on the 15th of December. Amorim said the decision was because of training performances, game performances, and engagement with teammates. Unlike Rashford, Garnacho was handed an immediate recall. Yet he has always seemed an uneasy fit in the system Amorim prefers because there is no space for an orthodox wide player. Although Garnacho is United's second highest scorer this season with 11 goals, he was omitted in Bilbao as Amorim preferred Amad Diallo and Mason Mount in the advanced roles behind central striker Rasmus Højlund.